The observation deck hummed with anticipation as Commander Threx adjusted his cranial sensors, watching the latest recruit enter the simulation chamber below. His chitinous plates clicked together in what passed for a sigh among his species. Another human. The 47th to attempt the Predator test in the past standard cycle. Corporal Jenna Rail, he read from the datapad, his translator rendering her name in melodic tones that seemed ill-suited to military protocol. Service record unremarkable. Combat experience minimal. Technological aptitude below average for her species. His aide, a crystalline Vexari named Shimmer of Dawn, pulsed with concern. Commander, perhaps we should recalibrate the test parameters. The humans have a 98% failure rate. It's affecting recruitment morale. Threx's ocular stalk swiveled toward her. The Predator test has remained unchanged for 3,000 cycles. It has been passed by Karathi warriors, Zenthian berserkers, and even a Multhan hive mind operating in perfect synchronization. If humanity wishes to join the Galactic Defense Initiative's elite forces, they must prove themselves worthy. Below, Corporal Rail stood in the center of the pristine white chamber. Her standard-issue pulse rifle held loosely at her side. She wore light armor, human design, Threx noted with disdain. Their species always insisted on their primitive equipment, even when offered superior alternatives. The simulation began. The chamber transformed instantly into a dense alien forest, the breeding grounds of Krath-Ulas Prime, home to the galaxy's most efficient predator species. Purple vegetation towered overhead and bioluminescent spores drifted through humid air. Somewhere in that maze of twisted trunks and hanging vines, 3 Karathan stalkers were hunting. Threx had seen this scenario play out dozens of times. Most recruits relied on their weapons, their scanners, their training. They moved in calculated patterns following doctrine. The Karathan, evolved over millions of years to hunt in precisely these conditions, simply outmaneuvered them. The simulation ended when the trainee was killed 3 times or managed to eliminate all 3 predators, a feat accomplished by only 0.03% of all candidates. Jenna Rail did something Threx had never seen before. She dropped her rifle. What is she doing? Shimmer of Dawn pulsed in alarm. The human closed her eyes, standing perfectly still as the alien forest settled around her. Threx zoomed the observation cameras closer. Her chest rose and fell in slow, deliberate breaths. Her hands hung loose at her sides. For a full minute, she didn't move. Then she opened her eyes and smiled. Instead of moving deeper into the forest, she retreated to the largest tree near the chamber's edge. Using only her hands and feet, she began to climb. Threx watched in fascination as she wedged her fingers into bark crevices, using technique over strength. 20 meters up, she found a thick branch and settled into position, her body pressed flat against the trunk. She's hiding, Threx's aide observed. That's not particularly... Wait, the commander interrupted. Jenna reached into her utility belt and pulled out a small knife. Not the plasma blade issued to all recruits, but something crude. A metal blade, ancient in design. She began cutting sections of vine and moss, weaving them together with practiced efficiency. Is that camouflage? Threx leaned closer to his monitors. Within minutes, Jenna had fashioned a crude covering from local vegetation, draping it over herself until she blended almost perfectly with the tree. Then she waited. The first Karathan stalker passed beneath her position 12 minutes later. The creature was magnificent. 3 meters of scaled muscle, 6 eyes scanning in multiple spectrums, claws that could shred duralloy plating. Its thermal sensors swept the area, searching for heat signatures. Its electromagnetic receptors probed for weapons discharge or shield generators. It found nothing. Jenna had slowed her breathing to an almost imperceptible rate. Her body temperature, masked by the vegetation covering her, registered as part of the tree. She had no active technology to detect. To the Karathan's advanced sensory array, she simply didn't exist. When the predator moved past, Jenna descended silently. She crept through the undergrowth with movements that seemed instinctive rather than trained. At one point, she paused to rub mud and crushed leaves across her exposed skin, further masking her scent. She's using primitive stealth techniques, Threx murmured, his analytical mind racing. Pre-technological hunting methods. But the Karathan can detect, they detect technology. Advanced biology. Energy signatures. She's operating below their sensory threshold. Jenna found a narrow stream cutting through the forest floor. She waded into it, using the water to mask her passage. Downstream, she discovered what she was looking for, a natural choke point where the terrain funneled into a narrow ravine. For the next hour, Threx watched in amazement as the humans set traps. Not sophisticated military traps, crude mechanisms fashioned from vines, sharpened sticks, and deadfall timber. She dug a pit and covered it with vegetation. She created a snare using flexible branches as springs. She even constructed a primitive alarm system using stones balanced on thin vines. These wouldn't stop a Karathan, Shimmer of Dawn observed. They're not meant to stop them, Threx realized. They're meant to slow them down, to channel them, to make them predictable. Jenna climbed back into the canopy and waited. The first Karathan triggered her stone alarm. As it investigated the noise, it stepped into her pit trap. The fall didn't injure the creature. Its exoskeleton was too strong, but it bought Jenna precious seconds. She dropped from above, her crude metal knife finding the exact gap between cranial plates that she'd identified from her tree perch. One Karathan eliminated. The second stalker, alerted by its packmate's distress, charged toward the location. Jenna was already moving, leading it through her snare system. The creature's leg caught in the vine trap. As it thrashed to break free, Jenna used the momentary advantage to strike again. 2 down. The third Karathan was the alpha, larger, smarter, more cautious. It hung back, using its superior senses to track the human who had killed its companions. Jenna didn't run. She climbed back to her original position, settling into her camouflage and waiting with inhuman patience. The alpha searched for 40 minutes, growing increasingly agitated. It couldn't find its prey. The human had simply vanished. Finally, frustrated, the Karathan paused directly beneath Jenna's tree to reassess its hunting strategy. She dropped like a stone, knife first, falling 20 meters with perfect precision. The blade found its mark. 3 Karathan eliminated. Test completed. The simulation dissolved, returning the chamber to its pristine white state. Jenna stood in the center, covered in simulated mud and plant matter, breathing hard but grinning triumphantly. In the observation deck, Commander Threx stood in stunned silence. How? Shimmer of Dawn pulsed. The Karathan are apex predators. Their sensory systems are designed to detect threats they understand, Threx finished. Advanced technology, biological enhancements, tactical doctrine. Corporal Rail operated outside those parameters entirely. He reviewed the footage again, his analytical mind working. She used what she called instinct, pre-technological hunting methodology from her homeworld. Earth's jungles produced predators and prey in an evolutionary arms race spanning millions of years. Humans learned to hunt and to hide using nothing but organic materials and patience. But surely our training simulations account for primitive tactics? They account for known primitive tactics, Threx corrected. From species we've encountered, Earth was classified as barely post-industrial when first contact occurred. No one bothered to study their evolutionary history in depth. We assumed their lack of advanced technology indicated a lack of sophistication. He watched Jenna exit the chamber, still smiling, completely unaware that she had just rewritten 3 millennia of military doctrine. Commander, what do we do now? Threx's plates clicked in what humans might have called a laugh. We pass her, obviously, and then we invite Corporal Rail to redesign our wilderness combat training program. Apparently, humanity has been fighting apex predators since before most species in the galaxy achieved sentience. He pulled up Earth's file, scrolling past the technological assessments, to sections labeled Natural History and Evolutionary Biology. Sections most military analysts ignored: tigers, bears, crocodiles, snakes, spiders, sharks. Earth wasn't just a garden world. It was a death world that had forced its inhabitants to become the ultimate survivors. Note for the recruitment database, Threx dictated. Humans may lack advanced technology. They may seem physically inferior to warrior species, but they evolved in an environment that made them something more dangerous than mere predators. What's that, Commander? Survivors. The kind who don't need sensors to hunt or shields to hide or weapons to kill. The kind who can enter a hostile environment with nothing but a knife and instinct, and emerge victorious. Below, Corporal Jenna Rail walked toward the debriefing room, still covered in simulated mud, already thinking about lunch. She had no idea she'd just become the most valuable tactical instructor in the galactic defense. Initiative, but Commander Threx knew, and he was already drafting the orders to make it official.